Hey, Most Amazing Top 10 family, I'm your host, Chada Reyna, and welcome back to Most Amazing Top 10. Holy moly, we are in a strange time. I mean, just look at me, look at where I'm recording from. I'm in my home. Now, why? Well, that's all because of the coronavirus. We are all on lockdown, and all of us hosts are going to film from home, which is kind of cool. Do I have pants on? You will never know. But even though the virus has us all cooped up inside and not shaking hands with anyone, there is still a lot of other diseases that are way more deadly than the ones we are currently hiding from, and a lot of people are at risk for it. To help educate you on some of the threats that are still out there, I'm bringing you today's list of top 10 scary diseases that are worse than COVID-19. As always, guys, I would love it if you could like, comment, subscribe, and hit the little notification bell. Also, stick around for the whole list because I'm going to be doing some more pet shoutouts, which you guys love so much. Remember, if you want me to shout out your pet, you can hit me up on Instagram. I pick new pets every day, so if you don't get picked one day, you can message back another day. And without taking any longer, let's get into this list. At number 10, we have the Black Plague. I'm going to start off this list with a heavy hitter. I figured this one is perfect for number 10 because it was extremely deadly, but now we rarely see cases of the Black Plague running around. It hit the hardest back in the 1300s when it took out 50 million people in Europe. That was the most devastating blow, and most people thought that it stopped there, but there's a lot of evidence that shows the Great Plague of London was the same plague coming back to kill more people. All of you at home probably think, oh, we will never see it again. That disease is from a forgotten time. But I will let you know that there are still cases of this deadly disease popping up. 2 people in Colorado died from the Black Plague back in 2015. And there's still places called plague reservoirs. These are spots where the plague flourishes because of the conditions. There are spots throughout Asia that are infested with rats, and many of these rodents still carry the plague. Now, if an outbreak happened, the good news is that we could stop it very quickly with antibiotics. At number 9, we have smallpox. Here's another one that was extremely deadly. Good news is it seems that we have completely killed it. The last case of smallpox was back in the 1980s. The World Health Organization put together a massive movement to make sure that everyone in the world was getting their smallpox vaccine. And with their help, we no longer have to worry about it. But while it was around, it was a devastating killer. It's estimated that 1 out of every 3 people who were infected with this horrible disease died from it. This killer was a deadly threat as recent as 1975. It was killing numbers of people in Bangladesh. There was a hospital that reported 46% of people who caught the disease died from it. At number 8, we have the flu. Now, this is something you don't really think about. You get a flu shot, you feel better, and that's that. Well, that's not all there is to it. It turns out the flu is still responsible for killing thousands of people every year. This is why scares with swine flu and bird flu were making headlines. It's been a while since we've had a big one like the Spanish flu, which killed somewhere around 50 million people, but the flu still kills somewhere between 250,000 to 500,000 people globally. So make sure you get that flu shot, or don't. I'm not your dad, I'm not going to tell you what to do. Just don't touch me. I'm not into people touching me right now. At number 7, we have Ebola. Now, Ebola isn't a major killer. We haven't seen a lot of cases of this sickness, but when it does break out, it goes hard. There is no known cure for this disease, and it takes out almost everyone infected by it. Some studies have shown that 90% of people infected by Ebola die from it. This disease can transfer in multiple ways, but mostly through touch, and those who get infected will know within 9 to 10 days. There have been some crazy cases where the virus has spread through sex, but chances of you getting Ebola and feeling good enough to have sex are pretty slim. The origin has never been determined, but it's thought that it might come through bats. Also, something very scary about this disease is that it can still be present in dead flesh. It's almost like a zombie sickness or something of that nature. In extreme cases of Ebola, people will bleed from their eyes, ears, and even have large amounts of blood in their stool. At number 6, we have diabetes, a very scary disease that is on the rise around the world. We are seeing more and more people diagnosed with type 2 diabetes. Now, if you don't know the difference, type 1 is when you're born with diabetes, and type 2 is when you develop diabetes. The cause can be a lot of things, but it's normally linked back to people treating their bodies poorly through diet and not exercising enough. It's also been shown that people who live in poor neighborhoods have a higher chance of catching diabetes. This is most likely because they don't have the funds to access healthy foods, and there's also an education factor of not knowing what foods are actually good for you. At number 5, we have rabies. Once again, not a super common disease, but I put it on this list because I'm personally afraid of it. This has to be the closest thing we have to a zombie virus. When you have it, you will start with a light fever, maybe have some some stomach pains, and then it will progress. You will start to get itchy all over your body, you can have hallucinations, and become extremely aggressive. And it can transfer from an animal to a person through a bite. If this thing mutated, it could be the end of the world as we know it. But don't forget, that's just the doomsday prepper in me. You can get a rabies vaccine that will completely protect you from it, and if you think you've been bitten by an animal who has rabies and you get the vaccine right away, you should be fine. But on record, there are less than 10 people who have contracted rabies, started showing symptoms, and survived. So that's a little bit freaky. At number 4, we have Alzheimer's. For me, this is the scariest one of all of them. It is not the number one killer, but it is still very high. In 2015, there were 1.5 million people who died from this horrible disease. It scares me because of how it kills you. It starts with loss of memory, and for sure, a lot of us forget things sometimes, but then it progresses until you lose control of your motor functions, and then you cannot use your own body anymore. Also, something I learned about Alzheimer's is that women are at higher risk. 2 out of 3 cases of Alzheimer's are women, and there are a lot of research that shows this is linked to menopause. The drastic change in your hormones has a very strong effect on your brain, and if you're not taking care of your brain, this can lead to this disease. The good news is that Alzheimer's seems to be linked to lifestyle. A long life of eating healthy, reducing sugar and inflammatory foods greatly reduces your chance of getting this disease. Also, friends and family play a big part. Research shows that regular engagement with friends and family helps create serotonin in the brain and can reduce your chances of getting Alzheimer's. At number 3, we have malaria. Malaria is an interesting one because it doesn't kill you from a virus, but a parasite. It's a parasite that will live inside bugs. It is most popular for piggybacking on mosquitoes, and through this relationship, when a mosquito bites you, it can pass the parasite into one of your blood cells and then will work its way into your liver. Then it will reproduce inside your liver and cause all sorts of medical problems from having your liver cells infected with this parasite multiple times. Thankfully, there have been huge advancements made in the fight against malaria, mostly through pesticides that have led to it being eradicated in the US. Now we just need to move on to other countries so we can save the world. At number 2, we have cancer. This one is one of the biggest killers globally. If we are breaking it down to lung cancer alone, it kills over 4 million people a year. There are a lot of different things that can increase your chances of getting cancer. I feel like I read an article every day about new things not to do or eat because they cause cancer. But there are some simple things you can do to make sure you reduce your risk. Controlled sun exposure is a huge thing. Try to get sun on your skin so you can get that healthy vitamin D, but do it in the morning when the sun rays aren't their strongest and have a less chance of harming your skin. If you're a smoker, well, quit smoking and try to stay away from chemical fumes if you can. And most important is diet. Carcinogenic foods are foods that cause cancer. Anything deep fried or processed, you better believe that they are carcinogenic and they will help cancer grow in your body. So avoid those foods and you will feel so much better and you will be so much safer. And for the number 1 spot, we have heart disease. This is the number 1 killer in America and something most people should be much more afraid of than COVID-19. The chances of heart disease killing an elderly person are way higher than COVID-19. Death from ischemic heart disease has been on the rise. In the year 2000, the worldwide deaths were at 6 million, and in 2015, they were at nearly 9 million. If changes are not made to the way people live, then there's a good chance we'll continue to see a rise. Now, there is good news. Heart disease, just like many of the top killers on this list, can be prevented just by living a healthier lifestyle. There is a ton of evidence that shows heart disease is a degenerative problem from years upon years of poor dietary choices. If you reduce your intake of inflammatory foods like white flour, alcohol, sugar, and deep fried fats, and increase your intake of healthy foods like leafy greens, grass-fed meats, and healthy fats like nuts and avocados, then you drastically reduce your chances of ever having a problem with heart disease in your life. All right, everyone, that has been our list. Thank you so much for tuning in, and as promised, I'm going to be doing some more pet shoutouts. Remember, if you want me to shout out your pet, you can hit me up on Instagram. I pick new pets every day, so if you don't get picked one day, you can message back another day. If it takes me a little while to get back to you, I am very sorry. I have a lot of these to do. Without taking any longer, let's shout out some pets. All right, to start off, we have a very cute boy. I love his haircut. Then we have Chelsea, who might have the biggest smile of all time. Next up, we have Callie and Kuno, and some of you know why I'm going to say this, Kuno! But the rest of you don't know what Disco Elysium is. After that, we have Leah the cat, who is a very nice snack right now. It's nice to have someone you can quarantine snack with. You want that kind of friend. Following Leah, we have Gizmo, who is begging for some treats. I can just tell by those big old eyes. And to close it out, we have the boxer Lucia, who has some beautiful big brown eyes. What a beautiful girl. All right, everyone, that has been our list. Thank you all so much for tuning in. As always, I would love it if you could like, comment, subscribe, and hit the little notification bell. Until next time, I've been your host, Jade Arena, and take good care of yourself, guys. Be safe. Bye.